not just a magician, he's also an amazing person, a graduate of Baylor University, and holds a Master of Divinity from Truett Seminary. He has served as both a congregational minister and as a board-certified chaplain specializing in end-of-life hospice care. Blake is currently the manager of the Pastoral Services Department at Hillcrest Hospital, and he serves on the board of the Waco Interfaith. Blake and his wife, Mallory Herridge, also have 2 amazing children. So Blake, please come back up again.
Thank you. I hope you can see me over the podium. And Mary assured me that y'all won't hold it against me since I identify as Baptist. So thank you so much. Well, I am so honored, and I appreciate y'all asking me to come and speak with y'all and be with y'all this morning. You know, it was unlike anything that I had experienced in my entire life. Tears were streaming down my face. I felt a sense of connection to humanity, a universal type of love that was flowing out of me, through me, as if I was just a conduit. I knew right when I was experiencing this that I would never forget. There are a few experiences in life that really stand out like that. That in that moment, you know that it's important, that it will stick with you forever. I learned more about myself, the universe, in a whole hour than I had in my whole life. My belief system was shattered and then rebuilt. A few weeks before, I was pondering a dark depression. And now, I felt like I was experiencing the fullness of life itself. The drug ketamine has an effect like that. I didn't want it to end, even though just days before I pondered difficult thoughts. You see, I had signed up for psychedelic therapy. I have done therapy since the early 20s. I knew that if I was going to be working with people's emotions, that I should make sure that my head was on straight, that my emotions were right. And sometimes, back then, it wasn't on straight. Something just snapped in my brain, and I was not okay. I felt depressed. I felt sad. A sadness I just couldn't shake in my life. A sadness that turned into panic attacks. A chaplain is someone who helps people with panic attacks, not someone who has panic attacks themselves. And then I remembered a lecture that I attended as a palliative care chaplain. It was by William Richard, Dr. William Richard, entitled Sacred Knowledge. It was a lecture given about psychedelics, specifically psilocybin. He talked about how he would give psilocybin to terminal cancer patients to help them overcome their fears of existential distress. During that lecture, he talked about how research had shown the effectiveness of psilocybin with depression, substance use, and even anxiety. Feeling tired of my panic attacks, I thought this might be a good treatment for me. But sadly, this time, as many of you know, psilocybin-assisted therapy is not legal in the States. By the end of the year, this therapy will be offered in Oregon. So ketamine-assisted therapy was all that was available to me. I went in very hesitant, because I didn't know much about ketamine as I did psilocybin from those lectures, and given that, I didn't know what to expect. And all this reminded me of when I walked into a magic shop the very first time. Even back in 1996, this magic shop was old, it was run down, it was already a hole in walking in with my mom. I went to the book section because, I was just too scared and nervous to go to the counter and talk to the owner. Besides, the owner was helping someone. And I started to look at the books as I began to eavesdrop on the conversation between the owner and what I just assumed was a real-life professional magician. They were talking shop, different techniques and ideas. I then peeked over the books and I saw a dollar bill folded in the man's hand suddenly come to life, and it floated off his hands and began to levitate in midair. Well, my heart as a little kid, my eyes, my very being exploded in on itself, and magic, illusion, has been a part of it ever since. Strangely, my psychedelic therapy session was less like walking into the magic shop for the first time, and more like another time when tears were streaming down my face, and a pastor said, with every head bowed and every eye closed, for those of you who don't know, that phrase, that's a typical Baptist saying in the 90s that started the altar call. Music would begin to be played, the pastor would speak more, urging those who were not Christian to come forward and accept him as your Lord and Savior. When I came from my new type of therapy, I met with my nurse practitioner, and she asked me to describe what I had just experienced and what I was feeling. All I could say was, it's weird. It's weird. It feels like everything and nothing happened at the exact same time. She laughed and assured me that was normal. But nothing normal seemed to fit in that moment. It was very abnormal, so abnormal that it felt like it was more real than the reality I was living in. And maybe this was my second spiritual awakening. Dr. Richmond, who introduced me to the medical benefits from psychedelics, once said that this new horizon in history, this renewed medical study of psychedelics, is where the sacred meets science. He is literally studying the connection between spiritual experiences and psychedelics. When I read that as a Master's of Divinity student, that blew my mind. I wonder what chaplaincy will look like 20 years from now. After that day at the ketamine center, they recommended 3 treatments. I took 3. Was it a miracle drug? No, far from it. Through continued work, I believe that I had the experience I needed to have. I believe I found what I needed to find. No, not found. Instead, the best way to describe it is I was reminded. I was reminded of something that I forgot. Besides being a Christian, a magician, an illusionist, besides being a Christian, magic and illusions, they have always stayed with me. Since I was 11 years old, I might have had a little hiatus every now and then, but I always came back to it. Every trick I do still reminds me of the first one that pulled my dad when I was 12 years old. You see, when I pulled my dad, I had with me a simple dice, just 6-sided. And I would have my dad take this dice, and he would go up to a table, and he would take it, and I'd say, just think of any number you want on the die, put that number face up, and cover it with both hands. And then I would walk to the other side, and I would just try to guess what number he was thinking of. I thought we'd try that today. I tell you what, man holding the coffee cup, can you join me? You never thought you'd be called up during church service, did you? Give her a round of applause. And your name is? Liz, do me a big favor. I just want you to think of any number you want on that die, just like my dad did. Put it face up, cover it with both hands, and tell me when you're ready, Liz.
Okay.
Now you see, as a 12-year-old kid, I was a little hesitant about this. I was scared. It was my dad. I hadn't performed much. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, so I would just randomly guess and say 3 is the number you were thinking of. Is that correct?
Yes.
It was dead on. I was sure to put that up. Give a round of applause. You see, my dad's a CPA. He wasn't impressed by that. He knew that maybe there's a 1 out of 6 chances, and I just got really lucky at that time. So I wanted to try it one more time. Can you think of any number you want again? Put it face up, cover it with both hands. Thank you, Liz. But this time, Liz, I don't even want to turn around. I don't even want to look at you. I don't even want to make a random guess this time, because the whole time I was talking to you, I was trying to suggest a specific number to you. And I don't know if you got it, but the number I was trying to suggest to you, like a little Jedi mind trick, was the number 5. Liz, did you get it?
Yes.
Give her another round of applause right there. You never see that.
That's our version of an altar call.
For a few moments, I made my dad's world bigger than he even imagined. I saw the look of wonder and awe on his face, and I knew that I would always be doing magic tricks for the rest of my life. Fast forward. You see, my life was feeling like I was trapped. My world was getting smaller and smaller each day, and this new form of therapy released me from my tomb and expanded my world. What I tried to do for others through magic, inspiring wonder, reminding people impossible, is just a word. Just a word. Took me a psychedelic to realize. The world expanding in my mind was like the Big Bang appearing and expanding our known universe. And I wonder how many of us long for something like that. How many of us desire to know more? To know if this is all there is? And if that is so, is it just meaningless? It's easy to get trapped, sucked into this type of thinking, which can slowly eat away at our very being. And what is crazy, this is relevant in today's culture, because just a few weeks ago, the Oscar for the Best Picture of this year was awarded to Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. A movie that attempts to take on this subject in a very bizarre yet entertaining way. In this artsy movie, a character was being eaten away through how all appears to be meaningless. And she took all this meaningless stuff and threw it on a bagel. Yes, a bagel. So in this artsy movie, a dark everything bagel represents this character's views on reality. And I wonder how our view on reality affects how we live our lives, how we see our lives, how we experience our lives. And as many people, I'm sure, watched that movie and asked, what is the point of all this? I imagine you're saying the same thing about this reflection. I titled this sermon, Love and Magic. Or in fact, Mary Cunningham entitled this, and it's a perfect title, because love and magic is the point. When I underwent ketamine therapy, I didn't find any secret knowledge, but I did find what I was looking for. Actually, found again is not the correct word for it. I didn't find anything, and nothing found me. Instead, I felt it. I felt an unconditional, overarching love that was poured into me. I remembered that I was loved. For those today who might be struggling with life, the pain, the difficulties, the daily struggles of life itself, just like me back then, and I'm sure like me now when days are difficult, I come to bring good news. There's more. More to you. More to me. More to our world than we can impossibly imagine. And I hope today that we are reminded that through fun magic, but also I hope that we walk away in hope. Hope, maybe not believing it yet, if it's hard to accept, but at least knowing that you are loved. Loved by something big.